There's the punch that hits Cotto on the ear very clearly while his knee is down. Now here's the end as Cotto goes down again of his own volition. And as Margarito proceeds to keep throwing, this time Kenny Bayless steps in and prevents any more harm. And Evangelista Cotto, Miguel's uncle, got up onto the apron and tossed in a towel. Recognizing what everyone else at ringside could see, that Cotto was finished. Now watch Evangelista Cotto on the far side, on the apron on the right, as he waves the towel and lets Bayless know that they're done.
Well, actually, Cotto had told him, I'm done. All he had to do was the fight himself said, stop the fight, I'm through. But anyway, it was an exciting night. Good win for Margarito, and a very still credible performance from Miguel Cotto.
I think Cotto was done after the first knockdown. Bayless simply didn't recognize it. Now let's go to Michael Buffer for the official particulars on this epic knockout performance by Antonio Margarito.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end comes at 2 minutes, 5 seconds. Round number 11, the winner by TKO victory. Now a 3-time welterweight champion of the world, the Tijuana Tornado, Antonio Margarito.
On the official scorecards, at the end of the 10 rounds, 2 judges had Margarito leading 96-94, and the 3rd judge had it even, just as Harold Lederman did, at 95 apiece. So it was still a winnable fight for either fighter arriving at the 11th and 12th rounds. And it was the constant, unyielding pressure on the part of Antonio Margarito that ultimately forced the previously unbeaten Miguel Cotto to bend and give in.
But Cotto still fought a very brilliant fighter.
He showed his amazing skill.
He had guts. The fight could have ended about 4 rounds earlier, but it just too much. Physically, I think the guy was just too much for him and too consistent.
Miguel Cotto headed back to his dressing room to treat a badly bleeding nose, mouth, whatever other resulting damage has taken place from the ongoing war. A fight not soon to be forgotten here or anywhere in the boxing world. Another chapter in the amazing history of confrontations between Mexicans and Puerto Ricans. Final CompuBox numbers. Cotto landed more punches and landed at a significantly higher percentage. Cotto totally dominant for sure in the jab category. And we'll take a look at those numbers that show him landing 71 more jabs and landing 39% to only 9% for Margarito. He clearly outboxed Antonio Margarito round after round after round. But Antonio Margarito throwing 647 power punches, an average of 60 per round, and landing 37% of them was enough to force Cotto to yield, along with the frustration for Cotto of landing power shot after power shot after power shot against a man who didn't seem to field him. And now Max Kellerman is in the ring with Antonio Margarito.
Congratulations, Antonio. You finally got your shot at the big time. You came from behind to win. How did you do it?
Bueno, primeramente quiero agradecer a Dios de salir bien en esta pelea. En verdad yo les dije, me confiaba en mi preparación. En verdad Cotto es un peleador muy duro.
First of all, I want to thank God, but I trusted in my preparation. And obviously Cotto is a very strong fighter.
Pero poco a poco dije, el tornado va a ir llegando, lo fui aflojando. Yo le dije a mi esquina que lo iba a noquear y gracias a Dios vino el knockout.
But slowly the tornado rumbled, and I told my corner I would knock him out, and the knockout did come.
Early in the fight, he seemed to dominate with his boxing skills. He seemed to land a lot of clean shots to your head. Did he ever hurt you?
Bueno, no me lastimó nunca, pero sí yo creo que era el plan de ellos, ganar los primeros rounds porque dicen que soy un poco lento. Entonces cuando miré que era el 6, yo dije, ya es hora. empecé a apretar un poco más, empezó a aflojar él y así fue como aproveché.
No, he never hurt me, really. But that was their game plan, to start out strong because they knew that I started out slow. But once the 6th round came, I knew it was my time to press, and that's how the win came.
How could you tell in the 6th round that he was weakening?
Bueno, realmente le alcancé a agarrar unos golpes abajo que alcanzó a empujar un poco. Después lo alcancé a conectar con unos upper y así miré que empecé a aflojar.
Well, there was some punches low, and then I was able to catch him with some uppercuts, and then I saw that he was slowing down.
You are now considered by many the welterweight champion. Paul Williams is still out there. Oscar De La Hoya is out there. Care to remark about any of those guys?
Sí, cómo no. A ver, ahora sí me considero el mejor peso welter del mundo, ya que peleadores no quisieron pelear conmigo. A ver si ahora sí, Oscar De La Hoya, a ver si la promesa que hiciste, a ver si peleas. Yo creo que ahora lo merezco. Si le quieres dar un buen pleito a todos los mexicanos, aquí estamos.
Oscar De La Hoya is one of the best, but now we show this tremendous fight, and if he comes through with his promise, as he did, we can give Mexicans a true battle.
Congratulations, champ.
Muchas gracias. Quiero aprovechar para mandar un saludo a mis cuñados Harold, Hansel, Diego, a mis sobrinos Meño y Abigail, a mi cuñada Alicia, a mis papás que me están mirando, a todo Tijuana, a mi amigo Víctor, a Dead Highway Patrol, a todo el mundo por allá en el que era todo Tijuana. Llegó el tornado.
Abbreviated version, Jerry.
Family shout-outs.
Y a toda la gente que me...
Jim.
All right, thank you very much, Max Kellerman. So there is a brand new world welterweight champion. Clearly now the #1 man in the division, with Floyd Mayweather on the sidelines in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and the previously unbeaten Miguel Cotto having given in to Antonio Margarito. And a new applicant for a spot among the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. He hasn't generally been ranked there before, but clearly Margarito will have to be considered for that kind of position now. And he's an unusual kind of fighter, Emmanuel Stewart, because he doesn't much care if you hit him. He's there to throw as many punches as he can possibly throw, and his stamina and his chin are unbelievable.
It's going to be hard to beat this guy. His defense isn't that bad. You had Cotto, one of the best fighters there with fast hands, but he picks punches off, and even while he's picking the punches off, he's sending moving forward and punching off of that. Very difficult guy to be in there for 12 rounds with you. You may beat him for 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds, but 12 rounds he applies so much mental and physical pressure, doesn't give you any space, and eventually he starts getting to you. Body, head, rides your punches. Tough guy to be in there with for any fighter.
And his body's so big, you wonder how in the world he sweats down and makes 147 pounds without sustaining damage in doing so. Incidentally, our Max Kellerman is headed to Miguel Cotto's dressing room to seek an interview with the vanquished Puerto Rican star. Cotto was about an 8-5 betting favorite in the fight by the time they went to the post, and frankly, I don't see how his reputation diminishes in any way, because he showed all of the great skills and courage that we expected him to show.
He showed all of the skills. I always said the guy was physically just too big. When I saw the odds for they one time like 3-1, I couldn't believe it. When you talk, at least I always felt it was like a toss-up. But when I saw those odds was that way, I just never could believe it. But fighting a normal guy, I think Cotto still could do good. But it's going to be very hard for him at 5'7" to beat a guy like that. Even though I've had big welterweights with Milton McCrory and Tom Henry, they were 6'1" guys, but they didn't have the big leg structure. This guy is very big, very thick all the way around. Physically a very big man for a welterweight.
Now let's take a look at all of round 11, the culmination of a drama which really began brewing in the early rounds. Throughout the fight, Antonio Margarito was pressuring, pushing forward, throwing more punches, usually not landing the most effective blows, but by the 11th round, clearly he had made his point, and it was a weary Miguel Cotto who backed into a corner and started to take punishment.
Well, Miguel did all he could, but he had Miguel in the rope so much, and his whole attack was just basically fighting with his back to the rope. And it's just a matter of time, especially when the punches are coming in. It's from a tall guy. The punches are coming from over top of you. And you can't tie this guy up that easy either.
I wonder if some of this was Cotto's legs giving out after having to use his feet over and over and over throughout the fight to try to escape the pressure.
I just think everything. It was just too much pressure. And Margarito hit you everywhere. It was just accumulation of just mauling him that he eventually succumbed to all of that power and strength.
So reminiscent of how Zab Judah had given in the 11th round against Miguel Cotto in Madison Square Garden the year before, in a similar epic confrontation in which it was Cotto who stalked and wore down the opponent. But this is a look at how big, how powerful, how rangy Margarito is, how much pressure he can constantly apply.
Yes, he can.
At this point, a bleeding Miguel Cotto didn't seem all that eager to continue the combat. He walked forward as Kenny Bayless allowed him to continue in the fight. But seconds later, you will watch as Cotto once again chose to go down to his knees. Too weary to fire back after having retaliated so effectively, so sharply, with so many brilliant counter shots throughout the fight. And by now, his uncle Evangelista Cotto was already up on the apron, waving the white towel at Kenny Bayless to let them know that they understood what Antonio Margarito had achieved.
Well, I think that it was just too much for Cotto, and his uncle, his trainers, they did the right thing. You know, sometimes I think the referees